Multiple sources connected to Joe say that Joe had access to a ring cam that he captured Sophie saying or doing something that made him realize the marriage was over.
I'm an introvert. I'm a homebody. I just like, if I could stay at home all day, I would.
They have very different lifestyles.
I actually spotted Joe at a club, a bunch of his friends.
It was like 3 a.m.
Joe Jonas caught his ex-wife, Sophie Turner, getting into trouble. Reports claim that Joe saw Sophie doing or saying something on the home security camera, and that's what led to him filing for divorce. Sophie claims that this is for the best. She was way too young when she married Joe, and she wants to live out her youth. The more we learn about this divorce, the messier it gets. So let's get into it. We have updates when it comes to Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's divorce. They have both put out statements and we've learned some sketchy details. Like I said in my last video, they're trying to protect their image, especially that, goody two-shoes Disney vibe that the Jonas brothers have, and they have announced that they've mutually decided to split up. They both put out a joint statement and they write, "After 4 wonderful years of marriage, we have mutually decided to amicably end our marriage. There are many speculative narratives as to why, but truly this is a united decision and we sincerely hope that everyone can respect our wishes for privacy for us and our children." But the Today Show was able to obtain some of those divorce documents. In Joe's divorce petition, he said that his marriage was irretrievably broken and said that it would be in the best interest of their children if he and Sophie had shared parental responsibility. He also asked the court to uphold the prenuptial agreement according to the petition, which I don't think that will necessarily be a problem because Sophie is out here making her own money. She's in the UK filming, so I don't understand why they would have a prenup battle.
Joe Jonas tried to salvage his marriage with Sophie Turner before filing for divorce. Page 6 revealed, divorce was a last resort for Joe. He never wanted to break up his family, but he had to take what he felt was the best course of action for his girls. Another source claimed the couple had been living separate lives for months. They haven't gotten along in a while, but they're hoping to resolve this all amicably. TMZ reported that Joe filed for a divorce because she likes to party and he likes to stay at home. They have very different lifestyles.
Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Sophie wants to go out on the scene and live her life. She's 27 years old. She's been married since she was like 20. So she really didn't have that freedom to experience her 20s and figure out who she really is. But I do think it's respectful that they're trying to work on their parenting and share that experience. The petition reads, "A parenting plan should be established, which addresses all parenting issues and contains a time-sharing schedule providing for frequent and continuing contact with both parties." We actually only know the name of their oldest daughter, Willa. We don't know the name of their second daughter, who was born in July 2022, so she's a year old and nobody knows her name. But supposedly the children have been living with Joe in Miami and throughout locations that he's been touring at. Like I said, I feel like maybe Sophie's experiencing a mid-20s crisis. I mean, personally, I went through one. I was in a relationship from like 20 to 26, and it really does take away from some of those experiences, which are really important for you to figure out who you are and what you want with your life. A close friend of Sophie's told Mail Online that she felt trapped in her marriage to Joe and regretted missing out on her youthful, carefree years after tying the knot with him and having 2 children at a young age. The source revealed that the couple started having problems last Christmas and that she separated from him at the start of this summer, spending the months partying with school friends in the UK and going on vacations in Europe. So it does seem like she's a little bit disconnected from her family life, and I said that in my last video. It's a little bit bizarre that she's just been missing in action. Now, this is why I wanted to do an update, because supposedly Joe Jonas caught Sophie Turner on their Ring camera doing or saying something that led to the divorce filing. If you guys know me in my past, I mean, I should be sponsored by Ring because I caught my ex-boyfriend cheating on me, well, and plotting on how he was going to cheat on me on the Ring camera. So those Ring cameras, they come in handy. But supposedly he saw or heard something on the Ring camera, which was the last straw in his decision to file for divorce. Joe had access to the Ring camera and he said he captured Sophie saying or doing something that made him realize the marriage was over.
Apparently, the Ring camera was the final straw for Joe Jonas and Sophie Turner's marriage. Apparently, according to TMZ, Joe saw or heard Sophie doing something on the Ring camera. Multiple sources connected to Joe say that Joe had access to a ring cam that he captured Sophie saying or doing something that made him realize the marriage was over.
TMZ broke this story and said that Joe and Sophie's marriage have been on the rocks for at least 6 months, and it was all over significant difference in lifestyles. She likes to party and he likes to stay at home. Some of these reports are confused at the fact that Sophie once said that she struggles to keep Joe Jonas at home because he likes to go out and socialize, yet now they're saying that she likes to party and she wants to be on the scene, which the reports are surprised, but personally, I'm not, because she's growing up. She's so young. She wants to go out and see the world. I mean, it makes sense to me. TMZ claims that Sophie allegedly has an affinity for nightlife, and that prompted Joe's decision to separate. And maybe he saw her like, a little tipsy on the ring camera or doing something, on the ring camera, or heard something. Who knows? So I'm curious to what this new wave of partying is, because a year ago, Sophie and Joe, they made a TikTok where they were answering, a couple questions, and they admittedly said that she was the more introverted one. But I think it speaks a lot to their age. He's 34, he's got 2 kids, he wants to be at home and raise his family, while she's been probably wondering for years what's out there for her, which is really sad.
Who fell in love first? Who's more annoying when they're hungry? Who's the homebody in the relationship? Who's more spoiled? Who's more grumpy?
And I think it's completely normal for someone in their 20s to want to stay home and then a few years later develop more of a social personality. Though people are really questioning the validity of this because of past interviews and what she said, talking about how she loves quarantine life. I mean, it seems like she's liked being secluded for some time, but like I was saying, I think that there's changes. Like for me personally, like when I was younger, I didn't really go out as much when I was in college and working my job. And nowadays I have more opportunity to go out. I live in, LA. So I think that like it depends on where you are in your life, and really in your 30s and your 40s, I feel like you really start to establish what you've learned in your 20s to who you want to be. She was quoted saying, "Everything seems to be working out in my favor here because Joe's a real social butterfly. So I struggle to lock him down and have him spend time with me. It's like prison for him, but it's great for me."
A lot of bad news out there, but you like this business of staying home, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an introvert. I'm a homebody. I just like, I if I could stay at home all day, I would. So this is great for me. I leave the house like once a day anyway to walk my dogs, and then that's it. So
nice. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how people are, I see how people are finding it difficult, but I don't understand how people are really struggling to practice social distancing.
Right.
It's great.
I'm reading in the paper that couples are having a hard time being quarantined together. How are you and Joe getting along?
Yeah, I heard the divorce rates are up.
Yeah.
Joe and I, it's actually kind of, everything seems to be working out in my favor here, because Joe's he's a real social butterfly. So I struggle to kind of lock him down and have him just spend time with me. So it's like prison for him, but it's great for me.
It is a little concerning hearing about his alcohol consumption. I mean, she was flexing on how she pours him his alcohol. She gives him tequila shots. Sophie explained that Joe will text her and say, "What time is it?" And she's in the kitchen and she responds, "Shot time." So it looks like she kept him happy by keeping him drunk. And maybe this whole partying persona they're trying to push, this narrative, is to make Sophie look bad, because TMZ is being very favorable to the Jonas brothers. This person commented, "It seems like a desperate attempt to portray her as a party girl. The only evidence of partying I saw from her was when she was a teenager living in the UK 8 years ago." So while we understand that people can change and grow up, I also understand how the media works, and the Jonas brothers and their Disney connections, they try to keep it clean.
So TMZ's report about Joe Jonas filing for divorce from Sophie Turner definitely sounded like it was from Joe's perspective, or at least his PR team's perspective. And a source with direct knowledge said that she likes to party and he likes to stay at home. They have very different lifestyles. So that was the main reasoning that they pointed out as to why Joe wanted to file for divorce. Okay. Again, the video was from 2020, so that's something to keep in mind, but it definitely doesn't match up with the original claim.
And I'm not entirely sure why Joe Jonas would get off on trying to portray Sophie as some party girl. I mean, in reality, she's out in the UK, she's filming this project named Joan, and it would make sense if she's like working all day and then going out with her coworkers. One person wrote, "I would bet most of my paycheck that the partying has been Sophie overseas for work, away from her kids, and going out and having fun after filming, because ready for this, she actually can." But I think it's more about their age gap. I mean, they have a 7-year age gap, but I think that this is reflective of it. This person writes, "Why do men marry women 7 years younger than them and then act surprised when they live a more youthful lifestyle and want bigger lifestyles outside of their children than the average mother? You got to live your 20s, what about her?" Another person wrote, "Such a classic and disgusting case of a guy seeking out a younger woman only to take issue with her wanting to do the typical things women do at her age. Not that she's even some party animal."
You said so? I said this is banging. Banging. Banging.
So Sophie's living her best life, and I guess at one point Joe did try to save the marriage. This report writes that in an effort to save the marriage, Joe came to the UK with their 2 children over the summer and spent time in Sophie's hometown. But after failing to work through their differences, he returned to the US with their children who have been living with him since the split. A friend revealed Sophie feels like she's only just waking up to what her life and reality really is. Quote, "She's become famous at a very young age, then married and had kids at a young age, and never really had the teenage years of sleeping around and just having carefree fun with friends. Quote, "She feels like her life has stalled after Game of Thrones, and so has her personal life. Since the kids came along, she's feeling trapped." Quote, "She's the only person in her tight friend group who is married with 2 children. Now she feels like she wants to make up for the free time she's lost as a young person. Joe, wants a more settled life, but she's not ready for that because she feels like she hasn't even had a teen or young adult life." The friend also claims that there were issues in their marriage because Joe wanted another kid. He's a real family man. But while Sophie's been in the UK, she's realized how much she misses this country. It's the final nail in the coffin for them.
He's always with the kids and Sophie's not with the kids and Sophie loves to party. Before we got that, 2 days before we got that, we heard from a friend something interesting just before these 2 hit the news at all.
Yeah, we were catching up with a friend who lives in New York.
Yeah.
Going out for dinner on a Friday night. In the Uber, she goes, "I actually spotted Joe at a club a little while ago with a bunch of his friends.
It was
at
like 3 a.m.
acting, I guess, kind of like a single guy."
And we were all like, huh. And then we sat with that for a little bit and we're like, just random. Like, we didn't read too much into it, but like, that's random.
Yeah.
It's interesting for someone to observe a celebrity and go, oh, single vibes. I know that you can be out at 3 a.m. at a club and you can still be happily married. You can still be happily, like, a great father, all those kinds of things. But she was saying he was giving single energy.
Yeah, to make a note of it was interesting.
And then 2 days later we get the TMZ thing. So we just wanted to kind of include that because it doesn't mean everything. We don't love this rhetoric that Sophie Turner is this like wild party girl who never spends time with her children.
And that he's at home looking after the kids. Like, okay, claps for dadding?
For dadding. There just could be more nuance here. There could be a little more colour than the very black and white story we're seeing in the media right now.
I totally understand where Sophie's coming from. I mean, it's sad because she's got Joe Jonas and her children, but at the same time, I think that's why it's so important for, influencer, entertainment people, anyone to go and go to college and live out your youth and to figure out who you are, because if you get wrapped up in the fast life like she did, you will just bypass all of it. According to the friend, Sophie also felt increasingly pressured at being compared to the glamorous actress Priyanka, who is married to Joe's younger brother Nick. Quote, "His brother's wife is a lot older and mature. The family compares Sophie to Priyanka, which has put Sophie under a lot of stress." Supposedly their age gap wasn't an issue at first, but it's become a real problem because they want different things. She said, "I wish I'd had the university experience. I wish I could have gone out and drunk a lot and thrown up in the middle of a club without being photographed." So it really does seem like this breakup is mutual, which is, I guess, a good thing. They both have outgrown each other, and I think that their next chapters are going to be a lot better. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye, guys.